This is Talk 650, powered by CBS Radio.
The Senior VP for Global Project Development at Worley Parsons, Jan van Willigen, is going to be there talking about global oil and gas demand and trying to answer the question of whether or not it's sustainable. Ironically, he's in the studio with us this morning. Jan, it's good to have you on the program.
And it's a pleasure to be here, Brent.
Yeah, welcome in. Wanted to tell us a little bit about Worley Parsons. I like to follow the oil stories a lot. I'm not as familiar with your company as I ought to be.
Well, Worley Parsons is a global energy and engineering construction company.
Mm-hmm.
Worley Parsons is headquartered out of Sydney, Australia. It's an Australian company.
Really?
It's traded on the Australian Stock Exchange, so it's public. It's a company that has close to 33,000 people around the world. We're in 41 countries and in 137 offices. And our business lines, about three-quarters of our business comes from the energy business.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're also into power and infrastructure and minerals and metals.
Yeah.
But the reason that I'm here at part of the Energy Summit is to really talk a little bit more about how Worley Parsons plays such a key role in the energy world. Our company has the ability to do the engineering from anywhere from a deep water production facility, such as 5,000 feet of water.
Yeah.
The actual floating systems or fixed systems that support that, pipelines, all the way onshore to oil and gas stabilization and refining and production. So it's the entire spectrum of the energy facilities that are associated with our oil and gas production in the world today.
Would it be fair to characterize Worley Parsons as the Halliburton of the Down Under?
Well, I would say that we have some very reputable competitors that we're one of the top-tier companies in the engineering construction business.
Yeah. Your presentation on the 11th, which is when the Houston Club's Energy Summit is going to be taking place, is going to be looking at global oil and gas demand and whether or not it's sustainable. And, of course, with the business lines that you have, boy, do you have a vested interest in knowing the answer to that question.
We're unbelievably busy right now in the industry, as is most of the energy companies that are creating oil and gas production facilities. I think it's in large part because the demand keeps growing. It's been growing at about 2% per year. And the question really comes, can we sustain that for another 30 years? And if the answer to that, and there are a lot of theories, there is certainly the peak oil theory, which there are experts on both sides of that question, but that in essence says that there's going to come a point in time when oil will no longer continue to grow in terms of being able to supply it, and we will reach that peak and it'll start to decline. And so we will need other sources of fuel to generate our transportation fuels, for example, in our electricity.
And for a lot of the producing areas of the world, some people believe that peak point has already been passed. Is that true?
Well, you can look at it from countries such as the United States. We have certainly peaked. You can look at it from the international oil companies. All the majors have already peaked other than Petrobras. It is still growing. But if you look at from a standpoint of oil production, those IOCs have already peaked in their production capability.
You mentioned a 30-year span. Why 30 years? Is there something magical about that? Is there something that we hope will have taken place in 30 years that can help us not be as dependent? What's the answer to that?
I think that it takes a long time to, for example, transition to a new source of fuel. Look at how long it's taken us to get comfortable with hybrid cars.
Yeah.
And if we think that in the future, the transportation fuel, the gasoline that we're using right now is going to be replaced by, for example, gas, using like compressed natural gas like we're seeing here at the airport here in Houston.
Yeah.
That's going to take a period of time for people to get accustomed to that, get the infrastructure in place to support that. But I think that if you look at the data that's in the marketplace right now, one could lead to a conclusion that says that's going to play a major role in the future of our transportation fuels.
You know what's interesting is the adoption of hybrid automobiles, in my mind, has happened more quickly than I thought that it would. You know, where you now have several manufacturers boasting that, we have the hybrid this and the hybrid that. 5 years ago, that wasn't the case. And a 5-year span for that, I think, is actually kind of short.
And I think that what precipitated that in 2008 when we had the global financial crisis, Then all of a sudden, the price of gasoline went up to $4 a gallon, and the consumption in the United States for the first time in history went down.
Mm-hmm.
And that made people start realizing they couldn't afford that $4 a gallon as easily as they could before, and looking for alternate ways. So I think there were a number of events that took place that caused that scale of time to decrease.
Yeah.